coming up tonight. The top two in the Canada Life Men's Premier League meet in an epic showdown as part of the latest Isle of Man football fixtures this weekend. FC Isle of Man are targeting a fourth straight win in an impressive September so far. At a ground this weekend they've not had much luck on beforehand. A busy set of rugby fixtures take place this Saturday, including the start of the season to Vagabonds Ladies and also Game Week 3 of the Manx mixed hockey season. That is all to come this evening. A very warm welcome to you here on Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard and the team and guests as well once again this week to take you through the sporting action coming up across the island and further afield this particular weekend. We're going to start by taking a look at football, and after a busy and hectic start to the latest Manx football season, there are some notable fixtures across the divisions once again this coming Saturday and Sunday, and to go through them as always is our football correspondent Tony Mepham. Tony, very good evening.
Evening, Rob. Let's have a look out the window for the weather. We're good. Let's go.
It's looking good, isn't it?
We'll
keep our fingers crossed anyway that we don't get a mad turn of events, shall we say, going towards the weekend. Well, let's take a look at the fixtures across the respective divisions. We'll start with another busy schedule on Saturday. Canada Life Men's Premier League, we're going to have 6 games taking place, all kicking off at 2:30pm with one exception, which we'll get to. We'll start off with the game that's going to be taking place at Billygoat Park, Tony, and that's going to see Foxdale. Mixed start for them coming back into the Premier League, but a lot of positives to take up against the Ramsey side, who haven't quite in these very early stages lived up to the billing of last season.
No, they haven't, and I think a lot of people thought that Ramsey would really be the team that would get involved with Peel and Ayr. They were the sort of 3 favourites, but at the moment Ramsey, they lost against Corinthians. They've lost the game previous to that as well, so bit of a struggle for them, but I'm sure Dylan Pickles and co will try and get things right. Defensively they've looked all right. James Rice in goal again is having a really good season, but Foxdale have had a fantastic start, and okay, last week bit of a problem against St John's, and they lost out 6-4, but it's just one of those things. You've got so much talent in front, I think, for Foxdale, that they're still going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I just think Foxdale against Ramsey, the way things are going, I think Foxdale can just sneak it.
Very well. You mentioned St John's United just before. They've had a very positive start to the season as well. They're making the journey to Croytlowie against Russian United, who beat Moran last weekend. Yeah,
and I think with Russian, I think Andrew Moody is just getting the younger players into the squad. Cameron Dudley's been scoring goals. You've got Joe Kelly in there, so it's good. You've got to remember the older players. I wouldn't say too old. Charlie Jackson. You've got Aaron Hawley in there, so really good. But one player, I'm delighted to see him back, and that's Mark Blair, who's wearing the number 1 jersey, because he's brought many happy memories to me when I've watched the Island squad win competitions, and Mark was in the goal in the Interleague and everything else, and he really has got a lot to offer.
Pulled off some vital saves against Moran at the game I was watching last week.
Well, that's it.
And could have been a very different story had he not pulled off some of the saves he did.
Yeah, and I think Blaine Slattery might just have to have a little look at him, because I don't think Mark would turn it down, actually, if he got the opportunity to come back into the Island squad. He's, I won't say his age, but very, very experienced and, really good. But St John's, good win last week. Callum Taggart got a hat-trick in that game. But Sam Brown knows that he's just got to get the best out of his team. Will Penholrick's been absolutely superb at the back with Sam Ingham. And also, when you look at the rest of the team, they've worked hard. Dean Lee, is now finding his feet after sort of a couple of games at the start of the season. It wasn't quite there for him. But close game. I'm going to go for St John's to win it, purely just with the firepower they've got at the moment.
And then the early kick-off in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, 1:45pm at the Bowl. That sees St Mary's up against the Moran side, yet to get points on the board this season so far.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at the league table, Rob, and Moran are bottom of the league now, play 4 and minus 19 goal difference. And when they came back into the Premier League, because Douglas Royal stepped down, I just thought Moran would be okay, but for whatever reason, it's not quite clicking. And when you look at the team sheet for this year compared to last year, it's pretty well the same. So I don't know what's going on. It's not quite happening for them. I know people like Carl Hartman, and also you got Tom Redmond, but you've got other people there who can really sort of score goals and play some good football. Mikey Collister's another. So I don't know what's happening. Hopefully it'll correct itself, but certainly against the Marys, it's going to be tough. It's a big pitch at the Bowl. The boys play it well down there, and with people like Frank Jones and co, going to make it really difficult for them. I only see one winner in St Mary's.
Very well. And then we've got the blockbuster over in the West, Tony, that you'll be keeping a very close eye on tomorrow afternoon. Peel, runners-up last season and then champions the season before last, up against the defending title holders, Ayr United, out at Douglas Road. Tony, this has the makings of a great game.
It has a terrific makings of a great game, and certainly when I remember this one, it didn't finish on a happy note because Harry Weatherall broke his leg in this game, Peel against Ayr United. It's unbelievable when you think of that. Harry's actually out running now, competition running, so it's fantastic. But Ayr United, when I look at the team that they've got out there at the moment, going really well. We wish Nick Hurt speedy recovery. He's just had a huge back operation. He'll be back hopefully in the near future, but it's going well for him, so we wish him a speedy recovery. But it's just when you look at the players that they've got there, it's great to see Danny Oram back in. He wasn't going to play this season. You've got Sean Kelly's in there, but the one that I picked out a couple of years ago didn't quite happen for him last year, but Phil Dunnigan, and he started scoring goals again. So I think that's a big plus for Ayr United. Watch Peel last week against Onken. When you look at it, Onken could have taken the lead in the first couple of minutes, didn't happen, and then suddenly it all went right for them. And Ben Woodridge looks good. He looks a good player. He's finished off well. And then when you've got Thomas Brown in there, he got a couple of goals, one straight from the corner. It was looking really comfortable. But then Onken lost a player, and actually Onken played better down to 10. And Peel struggled to break them down, but in the last sort of 10 or so minutes, it was Dan Pickering who got one. He got the fifth one, and it was Tom Brown who got that one straight from the corner. So I think Peel have got better performances in them than 7 days ago. Against Ayr United, it's going to be difficult. I'm going to play safe here because you sent me down to this one, so I don't want to get into trouble. I'm going to go for a draw.
Very well. It may turn out to be the smart move, Tony.
Yeah, I think so.
And then moving out to Bala Fletcher and a Corinthian side who, although had a little bit of a blip last weekend, have had overall a positive start to the season. They're going to be hosting an Onken side who, Tony, you said had a lot of positives in that game against Peel. They've had a tough fixture list to start the season as well. Do you think they've got a chance of getting at Corinthians this weekend?
Well, Ben's next to me at the moment, and I would say yes, they have, because there's a lot of fight in that team, and they really did challenge hard against Peel, because even when they were 3-0 down, they kept going at them, which is what you want to see. With Corinthians, it's totally transition. We keep using that word, but unfortunately for Ben, he's lost another player in Jao Marquez. He's going to play for FC Alaman tomorrow. It doesn't matter. That's progress. That's great to see a 21-year-old player getting into that team. But when I look at one of the signings this year, and I've spoken to you about it, over the last couple of weeks, is Noah Valls. I think he's absolutely tremendous, and I thought at Braddon he was good. He's actually better than I thought. And with Matthew Quirk back in goal, that sort of helps things. But when you look at Joe Middleton in there, you've got Josh Caine playing there, Bevan Colley, there's a good brand of players in there. Stewie Smith is still there. No Daz Caine this week, I don't think. So it's looking good for Corinthians, and I think Corinthians can just take the points away from Onken.
Well, Tony just mentioned his name before. We are going to be catching up with the Corinthians first team manager Ben Qualtrough in a few minutes' time live here on the show. And rounding off the Canada Life Men's Premier League this weekend, Union Mills still in great form. A great start for them this season up against a Laxey side who've been hit and miss to start the campaign but got a big win last weekend. Yeah,
they did. And Union Mills have played for now 9 points, and I've watched them already this season. Very good. I think Ryan Kelly, the manager, is happy with the way things are going. I don't think he's happy that he's lost a couple of players, but it doesn't matter. You've just got to get on with it. We're all in the same boat. But Union Mills, when you look at where they've been over the last couple of years, they've been sort of knocking on the door there or thereabouts. They've got good young players coming through. Tyler Hughes is one of them, but I think it's Nathan Yates at the back who's keeping things nice and tight with Owen Quayle, the 2 centre-backs. And then you've got, people right round them, and Mason Prince in goal, superb goalkeeper, and nothing worse than sort of giving out how good his goalkeeping's been with the amount of clean sheets in that he's had, and then suddenly he sort of conceded, I think it was 3 goals against Jonas, so it didn't help him out in that one. But Laxey, fantastic, and Mike Murley sort of put a comment from Laxey at me at midweek. I see we beat you at Corinthians. Yeah, you did. You beat the top of the table Corinthians. So that was just a little one for Mike, a little bit of banter. But again, Laxey got new players in there, Rob, and they've done very well last week. New names on the score sheet for the first team, which says that Johnny Palmer's starting to get it right now. And Laxey are one of those teams that we fancy as well. But I just think Union Mills have just maybe got enough to take the points away from Laxey. But great result last week for Laxey.
Very well. That's the Canada Life Men's Premier League. We've got the 4 games in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2 on Saturday, all kicking off at 2:30pm. Starting down south, Castletown against Pulrose United, Tony.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Castletown to win it. I still think they're 1 or 2 players missing from the official starting lineup, but Nathan Cardy is an important one to have in there. He scored goals and we've seen that already. Alex Crawley must be due back very shortly. So I just think Pulrose, with 1 or 2 players that are in there, have made them stronger. If they keep playing football like they have and stop the bookings and stuff like that, I don't mean horrible like that, but that can cost them. That's why I'm going to go for Castletown to win.
And then down south, one of the longest journeys in Manx football, I think part of this, Colby hosting Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Yeah,
and Colby have only played 1 game, so there's not a lot we can say much about them at the moment, but certainly Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys have sort of done okay. They've conceded a few goals, too many in some games, but I think Colby have got a reasonable squad this year, and that's why I'm going to go for them to take the points.
And then at Victoria Road, Braddon, top of the pile in Division 2 at the moment. Had that setback, though, a bit of a surprise to some people. A 3-2 defeat to Douglas Roll, but they're top of the table. They host Governors Athletic, and Braddon's nearest challengers, Old Boys, Tony, don't have a game this weekend. So a chance for Braddon up against this Governors Athletic side to maybe extend their advantage at the top.
Yeah, I think Braddon, to be fair, have probably caught a few people out this season, because I think a few pundits, if you like, out there just thought they're going to find it a little bit harder. But, the team there have done a great job in getting them together. They've pulled off some really good signings. Terry Regow, we know about him. Joe Burrows has done really well for them, scoring plenty of goals. And, just right the way through, there's a good feeling in the club for Braddon. But Governors Athletic, I keep saying it, they're a very physical team, and not... over physical. They're just big, strong guys who sort of get stuck in and everything. And as we've seen from their results of late, much improved. And I said at the start of the season that Governors are a team to look out for, and Braddon have got to be careful here. They saw it last week against Royal, but I'll go for Braddon.
Yeah, Governors, they've given a few teams a run for their money. Well, anyway, the other game, the 4th and final game in Ardern and Drug Limited Division 2 this weekend, sees free scoring. Michael United banged in 13 goals last weekend up against that Douglas Roll team that maybe a couple of weeks before, Tony, some people might have wondered just how they'd cope with this fixture. But that win against Braddon last week, that surely must have raised confidence. Yeah, and there was some players put a good shift in last week for Douglas Royal. Paddy Dempsey, one of them, I believe he did a great job on Terry Regow. And Paddy's... he's a big unit, but he's a good footballer, and he did a real sort of number on him. He couldn't get in there, but Michael United, as you'd expect, Liam Caine's picking up where he left off last year, wasn't it? Over 40 goals in Division 2, and he's scoring for fun as well now, which is great to see. Michael Cole will be happy with that, and the team as well. So I've got to go for Michael United just because they're going so well to take all the points away from Royal. Very well. Let's take a quick look through then the combination divisions. Tony, we've got 6 games in Canada Life Combination 1 on Saturday. Yeah, Ramsey against Foxdale. You'd expect Ramsey to win that one. The league champions from last year, but they did sort of drop points this year already. St John's against Rushen United. Looking forward to this one big time, because Rushen are always there or thereabouts, and St John's have only lost 3 points in the whole start, and they've got some good players in there. I'm going to go for St John's to beat Rushen. Sorry to Tessa downstairs, probably tell me off later. Moran against St Mary's. You'd expect St Mary's to win. A little bit too strong for Moran. Ayr against Peel. Peel have lost a few. Ayr United have got 2 or 3 good players in there who can score goals. I'll go for Ayr. Onken against Corinthians. Well, Corinthians at the moment are doing very well in this league, and when you look at it, they beat Ramsey, but now they're coming against the league leaders, Onken. Tough game, but I'm going to go for Onken to win. And Laxey against Union Mills. I just think Union Mills have got enough to win that. And last but certainly not least, on Saturday, 6 games in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Pulrose against Castletown. I'm going to go for Pulrose to win. Douglas and District against Douglas Athletic. Athletic will be a little bit too strong for them, I think, so Athletic to win. Ramsey Youth Centre against Colby. Go with Ramsey Youth Centre. Douglas High School Old Boys against Jims. Old Boys will win that one, I think. Governors Athletic against Braddon. I'm going to go for Governors. And Douglas Royal against Michael. Michael will just sneak it. Those are your fixtures on Saturday. Let's take a quick look at Sunday. 2 games in the Canada Life Women's League. 2 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday. Corinthians and Peel, who had massive victories between them last weekend. 30 goals scored between them across those 2 games last weekend. Corinthians are at home to Onken, and Peel travel to Maloo. Yeah, I was surprised that Peel against Onken score, but it is what it is, because Onken are missing 1 or 2 players. Ruby Palmer, speedy recovery. Ruby did an MCL, so that'll be a lengthy recovery for her. But, it's going to be
I hope the scorelines aren't that. And, people are just saying, what's this all about? But unfortunately, we've got two very strong sides, and then we've got three sides about the same ability. What do? We just don't know. We've had the managers in, we've had the coaches in, everything to see if we can find a format. And we've got a format coming, Rob, with the 7-a-side competition shortly. So hopefully it'll go well. So Corinthians against Onchan, I'll go with Corinthians, and Malou against Peel, I'll go with Peel.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tony, for the moment. We'll be back with you in a few moments. But we're now going to, we sort of mentioned it before, but we've got one of the managers here in the studio with us this evening. His side has had a very positive start to the Canada Life Men's Premier League campaign this season. 3 wins from their first 4 games, and no doubt targeting more points over the coming weeks. Delighted to be joined by Corinthians first team manager Ben Qualtrough. Ben, very good evening.
Evening, Rob.
So I just wanted to ask on that exact point to start the season. 3 wins from your first 4, including a couple of weeks ago we saw an impressive victory over Ramsey. A bit of a blip last week, that 4-1 defeat to Laxey. But overall, how would you describe your team's start to the season?
Obviously very positive. And last week in terms of scoreline wasn't great, but the performance itself was largely very good. We did a lot of the same things we did the week before against Ramsey. The lads have just developed from last year, to be honest. We play very similar to how we did last year. We've just got a little bit better. Obviously, Quirker's come back in to playing goals. Joe Middleton's back for most of the season, playing as a centre forward. Penalty box to penalty box last year, I thought we were really good most of the season. We just had little mistakes we made at the back within our own area, and then we didn't take chances. We'd miss 2, 3, 4 chances week to week, and that was why we ended up finishing where we did in the league. But the performances this year are very similar in terms of what we do on the ball. We just got a little bit better fight and a bit better competitiveness about us. We're certainly in the air. Barron and Stewie at the back are doing really, really well. They're dominant, and we played St John's and Ramsey were 2 teams that put you under a lot of pressure. And they dealt with that really, really well, the 2 of them. And then the likes of Nathan Little and Josh Caine in the middle of the pitch, they've got another year's experience of playing together, and they've come back chomping at the bit and flying competitively together. So yeah, we're looking all right so far.
Now, I've got a question that has been, I suppose, on my mind really for Corinthians over the last few years, really. Obviously, since the introduction of FC Isle of Man, Corinthians was one of those teams that saw a lot of their star players join the FC Isle of Man setup, and in the years that have followed, Corinthians has brought through some of the younger players, first through the junior combination and into the senior setup. As a club, having lost a lot of those players to the FC Isle of Man system a few years ago, how do you think Corinthians has coped with that? Because there were a lot of big players that ended up leaving the club to join the FC Isle of Man system. Yeah,
I mean, it's credit to the club as a whole that we're doing as well as we are, to be brutally honest. So it's with Jow going this week, he was involved midweek. We're up to 13 players now from Corinthians that have made appearances for FC. Some of them have dropped back in, some of them have gone, and we probably won't see them again until they're over the 30s. Last season we started well, and then we lost Simo, Danny Gerrard, Phil Kelly, and then Adam Killier, of course. So we lost 4 more last year permanently for the rest of the season. But what we've been able to do, because we've got such a good organisation within the youth setup, we have from under 6s tonight right through to under 18s. We've got 2 under 18s teams this year at the club. A lot of good work gets done by the committee, by coaches throughout the club, producing really, really good players. So by the time they get to me at 16, I'm fortunate that we've got an absolute hatful of real top quality young players. Helps that we're able to attract players as well. So we've had Nathan and Barron came and joined us last year. Noah Viles, as Tony mentioned before, and Jack from around have both signed for us this year, and 2 more young players that have come in. So we managed to get by. We've managed to keep developing these players and giving them opportunities. And then now you can see as well, if you look at the combi between the two squads are both largely under 21. So the combination squad that's doing very well is also a very young squad. So we're looking good, and we just got to keep going and keep pushing, and then keep finding a new one when the likes of Jow goes and other players, as they will do, I'm sure.
All right, we've got around 60 seconds, so just another quick one to put at you. I'm not going to ask you to make any ultimatums. I never do in this situation, but early in the season, what are Corinthians' objectives? Where do you want to see yourselves come the end of the campaign?
Yeah, our target for the first team in the combi is to be top 4 at Christmas, and then we'll reevaluate at Christmas, and we'll look again for the rest of the season. But continue as we are.
Well, Ben, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Manx Radio Sport.
Moving on then, and a third straight victory in midweek means FC Isle of Man head back into the NWCFL Premier Division action this weekend on a 6-match unbeaten streak. They travel to West Didsbury and Chorlton tomorrow afternoon on the back of an impressive run of form, which has elevated the Ravens back into promotion playoff contention at this stage. However, the Island side have endured a poor away record at their latest hosts. They've lost all 3 visits to the Step Places Stadium to date. Well, I caught up with FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones today to see what he thinks it'll take for his team to break their unwanted record in M21 this weekend.
It is a game everybody looks forward to because their fans make such a great atmosphere, and I think our fans enjoy going and seeing if they can challenge that a little bit. So we're looking forward to a big crowd and a good occasion for everybody. I think they've only played 8 league games this season, and they only just lost to Darlington in the FA Cup last week. So they've had a good run in cups and ran a National League North side very close. So they've invested quite heavily in the squad this year. The new manager's come in and brought some really good players in with him who's played at a decent level. So their league position belies the quality that they've got. And they've got a really strong attacking threat, especially. So we're going to have to be right at it again to get anything out of the game. And I think the last 6 games or so, we've managed to do that on a consistent basis, and no matter what team we're playing against. And it's a case of having to do that again. We need to do that consistently for the rest of the season, really, if we're going to get anywhere close to our ambitions. So it's going to be a really tough test. We're going to have to be really together as a team, and we're going to have to work exceptionally hard to get something from a place that we've often, I wouldn't say struggled because we've done well, but we've not quite come away with the points for the level of performance that we've put in.
Now, ahead of the game against South Liverpool in midweek, you did mention that maybe you felt that despite this good run of form, you perhaps weren't playing as well during games as you were maybe in August, where you weren't picking up so many points. You picked up a 2-0 win in midweek against South Liverpool. It didn't seem like a game with a great deal of chances. So do you think the chances could be at a premium in this game, and that it'll be important to take those chances when they come your way?
Yeah, I think, from a supporter's point of view, and for myself, when I watch the team, I want us to be playing, really expansive attacking football where we're creating lots and lots of chances. Unfortunately, usually playing that way means that you're also conceding a number of chances as well, or you're not quite as tight in terms of your positions on the pitch. So it's not something we've explicitly spoken about as a group, but we're making, touch wood so far, better decisions in our half of the pitch, and when the ball gets into the attacking half, we're being a little bit more clinical in front of goal. So I'd like for that to continue, but I think over the the next 6 months or so, it's about how we can still play that really good attacking football and creating lots of chances in their penalty area while also being really tight at the back, and that's kind of the next evolution for the team, really. So I think, as I say, West Didsbury have got a real attacking threat, especially their front 4, and the 2 centre forwards, so the 9 and the 10 they have, and their 2 wingers, they have a lot of goal threat. So if they're playing, we need to be really, really good to make sure we don't concede too many chances.
In terms of the team itself, obviously Steve Whitley's been in great form the last couple of games, 4 goals in his last 2 games. How good has it been from your perspective to see not just he, but a couple of other players come to the fore in the last few games in getting those results?
It's been very important. Steve kind of almost gets another 10% in his game when he's wearing the captain's armband, and he's been having to do that with Sean's absence, and Jack McVeigh wasn't available for a few games. So Steve stepped up into that role, and he's one of those people that leads by example in terms of how he goes about what he does on the pitch. So it's been really important, but we've had many others who have had to step up. Ryan Burns hasn't played a lot of football, but started the last 2 games and didn't look out of place and didn't look like he'd missed the beat. And similarly, other players have missed the game and had to come back in again, or Zhao or Harley, or Luke Booth especially, and Tom Creer. They've all come in and added to the team, which is really important. They've not talked about not being in the group or being in the squad at the start of the season. They've worked really, really hard, and that's paying dividends, not just for them but also for the team, really, because we're getting some really good results without what the fans might consider to be our top starting players. So it's fantastic, and they've all come in. The real challenge now is to keep that going, and to make sure that they can put those performances in consistently. But the team are working hard for each other at the moment, and hopefully that will continue.
More broadly on the personnel side of things, over the last couple of games, there's been a couple of regular faces, the likes of Sean Doyle, Adam Adebayi, Dean Pennington have not been available. Can we expect a similar lineup to what we've seen from the game at Cheadletown last weekend and at South Liverpool in midweek?
Yes and no. The core group will be very similar. Unfortunately, we picked up some more knocks. We don't seem to be doing particularly well for contact injuries at the moment. So, dead legs or bone bruising, which we've picked up a few more on Wednesday's game. So there will be some changes, but Sam Baines was sick on Tuesday, Wednesday, so he'll come back in. Ronan McDonald wasn't available on Tuesday, Wednesday, neither was Al Maitland, so they come back into the squad. So we're replacing maybe some of the players that have picked up some knocks with players who are, who've played lots of football this season already. So it's strong kind of replacements really for people who have been doing well. So we're going to have to change things around a little bit.
FC Alabama manager Paul Jones ahead of his team's tie with West Didsbury and Chorlton in the NWCFL Premier Division kick-off at the Step Places Stadium tomorrow, Saturday at 3 p.m. Well, Tony, quickly just to get your thoughts, before we actually look at the match as a whole, obviously the big news came out this week that Luke Murray, who's been a key figure at the club in the playing squad since the inaugural season, 21-22, having to step away from the club due to ongoing medical reasons. What are the biggest things do you think he's brought, not just to FC Alabama, but to Manx football as a whole as well, the system he's come through?
Forget the football side, it's the person. He's an absolute wonderful person. He's such a gentleman, and he turned into probably one of the best footballers that we've seen for a long, long time. And it's just a shame that it's happened. We look at things and technology and everything else with health can change very quickly, so they might be able to find a remedy for him. But I spoke to Luke a couple of weeks ago when the Ireland women's team were going away, and he told me everything that was going on, and he's tried everything. He couldn't have done any more. The medical experts have been fantastic. All I can do is say, stay as fit as you can. Love to see you up at Corinthians. Love to see you at the FC Alabama game. And don't forget any of us, because we're all sort of, if you like, geeing everything else up if they can find something to try and get him right. Really do.
Yeah, Luke, if you are listening, we wish you all the best in your future endeavours. And finally, Tony, got around 30 or 40 seconds or so it's going to be a very brief summary. FC Alabama, great form at the moment, 6 games unbeaten, looking for a 4th straight win, but at a West Didsbury and Chorlton ground that they've not picked up any points from at the moment. What do they need to do to keep up this run of form, do you think, for this game? Just
keep playing like they are, because they're playing with a lot of determination, a lot of character, right the way through the whole team. There's great form, in the 11 starting, and even when the subs are coming off the bench, it's as if they've, been playing the whole game. They just come straight into it. So absolutely fantastic. Well done to them all, and hopefully they can keep this run going, because when you look at the league tables, it's looking quite nice now, isn't it? So well done to everybody.
Yeah, if FC Alabama were to pick up maximum points and results were to go their way, they could find themselves as high as 4th in the division going into the next set of games. Well, Tony, thank you very much for your time. Jeff, just a reminder, FC Alabama 3 p.m. kickoff at the Step Place Stadium against West Didsbury and Chorlton tomorrow. The local games across the divisions across Saturday, all kicking off at 2:30 p.m, except for that St Mary's versus Morown tie in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, a 1:45 kickoff. We're going to be taking a look at rugby and hockey in the next few minutes.
Manx Radio Sport.
Thank you, Siobhan, and welcome back to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. We've already taken a look at the busy football schedule once again coming up this week, and now it's time to turn our attentions to rugby, and just as action-packed, all of the Ireland sides in action this weekend, pretty much all of them we should say, particularly for the sides in the English club competitions already getting their seasons underway. Both Vagabonds Men's and Douglas are both looking for better fortunes this time around, and it's a big weekend for Vagabonds Ladies, who start their new life in the Women's NC2 North-South Division. And I'm delighted to be joined this evening by Vagabonds Ladies head coach Jack Caine. Jack, very good evening to you.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Cheers.
Our pleasure. So, well, starting things off, we did speak with 2 of your team members, actually, Ella Goodwin-Jones and Sophie Henry, a few weeks ago, right in the midst of the pre-season preparations, and they both said that there seems to be a really positive feeling around the camp. So, although in terms of results it was quite a tough season last time out, there seemed to be quite a lot of positives being taken from it. Was that the case from your perspective?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, last year was really tough results-wise. But in terms of the group that we've gained over that time, loads of players left last season, new players coming in, and we have got a really good group of girls there now who've kind of all grown over the course of last season, and now we're in a really positive place to take on this new league starting tomorrow.
Indeed, and one thing that's been brought up is the fact that Vagabonds Ladies over the last couple of years, although there were a couple of players who stepped away from the sport for one reason or another, managed to find that almost that holy grail, if you like, of getting new players to come in as well, and that seems to have been the case within the squad. So, from your perspective in the coaching side of things, how good a challenge has that been to bring these new players into the fold?
No, it's really good to get new guys in. They bring something different to the team, and we've been really fortunate over the last 2 years that we found some really high quality players who haven't necessarily come from sporting backgrounds, but have just found their way into rugby and have they've taken to it really well, and it's really, really good for Vagabonds Ladies as well.
Excellent. Well, turning to this league, the Women's NC2 North-South Division. Now, when we spoke with Ella and Sophie again, I think Sophie mentioned the fact that because of the way that the league is set up this year, is the fact that there will be a few teams that are a bit of an unknown. So from your side of things, is that both a challenge, but also maybe a benefit coming up against teams that won't know the Vagas style?
Yeah, I think historically, Vagabonds Ladies have always been in NC1, so it's something new and something different, and there are 2 or 3 teams that we have never played before, which is, I think it's a good thing because people start to get to know you, players that you've got on your team and things like that. So to go in against teams that we've never played before, like Winnington Park, say in a few weeks' time, you don't know what to expect, so nobody knows what's coming from us, which is really handy.
And when you've got, just coming a little bit back to the whole recruitment, if you like, and new players coming in over the last couple of summers, what are the sort of things that you get taught within the season as a team from match experience compared to just working in pre-season? What are the only things you can learn from that match day experience as a player or a coach?
I think that the contact's a big one. It's very hard to replicate the physicality of a game at training, that kind of 15v15 contact. So that's the big thing. And 80 minutes is a long time. That's our entire training session. So for that to be full contact for the whole time would be silly. So that kind of match time, contact time, you can't really gain that, people hitting you and things like that. So I think just chucking new people in is great because there's no better way to learn, is there, than being chucked into a game scenario.
And in terms of the schedule for this particular league, how does it compare to last season in terms of, is it quite a hectic schedule or is it quite nicely spaced out this time?
It is pretty well spaced out. We've gained an extra team. It's a 7-team league this year instead of 6, but the games are still pretty spaced out, which is handy. So if anyone were to unfortunately gain a knock or something, we've got a bit of time to recover and things like that, or to work on things from the game for the following week. So like I said, we're playing tomorrow, but then we've got 3 weeks off before we go again, which is, you'd like a bit of continuity in some ways to play week on week, but in other ways it's handy to, should anything go wrong, to be able to rectify that.
And logistically as well, I know this is a subject that Dave and I have covered a couple of times. This isn't just something exclusive to Vagas Ladies or Vagas Men's. It's Douglas, the other local teams, Ramsey, Nomads, you name it, who've been in the Cheshire competitions, for example. There's a lot of money that has to go into these trips, these competitions as well. So does that give you a bit of extra leeway to plan going forward as well? Because it can be expensive.
Yeah, a full league season is incredibly expensive, as everyone who travels away will know. We're obviously very lucky with likes of the Steam Packet, very generous with their sponsorship. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming, people having to go out of their way to plan travel arrangements and such. But I think that gives you a little bit of extra incentive, knowing how much work goes in behind the scenes to allow everybody to play rugby, to go and put in that little bit of extra effort in the games.
And just one final question. Again, looking forward, the season hasn't even started yet, so I'm not going to ask you to make any specific predictions, but it is uncharted territory in some ways. So just quite generally, really, what would you and the team class as a positive start, and also maybe what towards the end of the season might look like? Have you set any particular goals?
I think, to be honest, we're hoping to be pushing for promotion. We've got a pretty strong squad, and I think it's a league that we are able to compete in. Certainly up to Christmas time, we'd like to be pushing top 3, and then we'll take it from there. But I think, hopefully, we've got an incredibly strong squad at the moment, and I think promotion should be the kind of thing that we're looking for this season.
Ambitious. Jack, thank you very much. Jack Caine, the Vagabonds Ladies head coach there. Well, we'll turn to our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian. Dave, just off the back of that as well, Jack mentioning there that they've got ambitions. If the stars align, if things start to go their way, they can be pushing towards the top. You pointed out on a couple of occasions last season about Vagabonds Ladies, the fact that there were positives being taken despite tough results as well. What do you think they're capable of?
It's difficult to say, to be honest. Last season, I think they missed Lauren Ellison. Lauren's back now. That's going to help them a little bit, give a little bit more structure and organisation to the back line. Malin Campbell is a player who was awesome last season and is so young. She's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And I think players, Kyla Quayle as well was another one new to the game, and she's going to continue to grow as a player and get better and better with each game. And with those players picking up that experience week by week, month by month, they're definitely capable of kicking on a little bit further. I know the league has restructured, and we've got NC2 North South. That's a little bit of a misnomer. NC2 has a northern section, and within that northern section, they've split it into 3 groups. One of them just happens to be called South, so you've got this ridiculous North-South name. But there's a North-East and there's a North-West as well. And it's just down to geographical planning as to which league you're going to fall into. So there's nothing to be read into that. Let's go and let's see what the girls can do. They finished last season with a win. Let's see if we can start this one off with 1-2.
Indeed. Well, best of luck to Vagabonds Ladies up against Lee in the Women's NC2 North-South Division tomorrow, their first game of the season. Plenty of rugby happening elsewhere. Let's turn to Regional 2 Northwest, and Douglas, back-to-back defeats for them, including losing a lead against Widnes at Portashee last weekend. They're back on their travels this weekend up against Eccles, Dave.
Yeah, and the league games week 1, Douglas was 7-0 ahead at 7-0 behind at half time against Waterloo and finished up losing 33-0. Waterloo genuinely worried at half time that the game was going to get beyond them. Then we see them last week against Widnes, I think with it wasn't Phil Kringle, it was Liam Kirkpatrick here last Friday night. Liam said, look, we want to put last week to bed and we want to try and make sure that we have a performance for the full 80. That didn't quite happen. They got themselves into a great position, let it slip away. I think they were out-muscled a little bit by Widnes, and they didn't really have a plan B when Widnes changed their tactics. Eccles, like Douglas, have played 2, lost 2. They've both got 1 championship point, so they're very close together in the table. Douglas have got to start picking some sides off to get up the league a little bit further and move away from that bottom. And we're only 2 games in, but you don't want to be trapped down there. And tomorrow is a great opportunity at Eccles. There will be some changes in the squad. We know Cy Hoddenot's coming back in. We know Carl Markle Ferns is going to come back in as well. It'll depend on the damage done to the back line. I think there was a hint last week that Lucas Simmons' injury might be a little bit more serious than it looked. That's going to give them some problems in the 9-10 area. But we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed. I think Douglas should be good for some points away at Eccles, but the guys are going to have to keep concentrating for a full 80.
Well, Douglas, actually, we did get some team news earlier in the day. We're just going to bring it up in front of us. Of the players that are dropping out, among them is head coach Phil Kringle, who was part of the setup in the game against Widnes last weekend. Also dropping out Craig McGee, Josh Duncan, Lucas Simmons and Connor Garland. As it stands, from what we were seeing earlier this morning, coming in Simon Hodnott, who's just been mentioned, Wilf Kermo, Bryn Snellgrove, Alex Duncan and Shay Waterworth all returning to the set-up there. So Douglas heading to Eccles on Saturday afternoon. Well, similarly, Vagabonds in Counties 3 ADM Lancs Cheshire, back-to-back defeats for them to start their season, and they've got a tough task at home at Ballafletcher on Saturday, up against the league leaders Garstang, who've been scoring points for fun recently.
Yeah, Garstang they're actually the only club left in the league that have got maximum points, played 2, won 2, 4 tries or more in each game, so they got 10 points, point clear at the top. And Vagas, well, I haven't seen the Vagabonds team, so I'll look for that a little bit later on. I haven't heard any whispers of Knox. I don't know if Jack has or not, but they're going to have to work very, very hard. I was at the game against Garstang last season, and Garstang were challenging up the top end then. And it's going to be a difficult day for Vagabonds if they can't get going. The problem that they'll have is Garstang are going to be fit and mobile, and we haven't had a tremendous amount of rain in the last week. That pitch is going to be a good running track, and Garstang have got the players that are going to exploit it. So my fear is that we might not see a Vagabonds win there at Ballafletcher tomorrow, but I've got my fingers crossed for them.
Well, I do have the Vagabonds team in front of me to face Garstang tomorrow, and it's Joe Lau, Ant Pearson, Matthew Rockwell, we've got John Ferguson, Ryan Pope, Gav Turnbull, Tom Gascoigne, Matty Jones, Matty Williams, Daniel Bonwick, the captain, Archie Benson, Cal Donnell. Also, Steve Gorn, Cam Finley and Regan Williams, and 3 substitutes, and they are Ollie Swindlehurst, Ed Knight and Josh Moden.
Right, so that back line is probably as good as Vagabonds are going to get out. They've got some highly experienced players. They've got plenty of pace. Cal Donnell gives them right good penetration, running straight with the ball. He's very difficult to put down. That should go their way. But my question, I think, will be whether or not Garstang are going to play that usual fast game they play, and that's going to wear people down. And I think the Vagabonds have got a bit of strength on the bench, but they're lacking a little bit of pace, maybe.
And last but certainly not least, we have the start of one of the domestic competitions. We have the first fixture in the Manx Shield. And Dave, this is the game you're going to be covering for us as well. This looks like it could be a cracker at Ballykillia Park. Southern Nomads up against the defending Manx Shield champions, Ramsey.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of Southern Nomads at all. Obviously, I see the Ramsey lads on a very regular basis. The team's out. It was released last night. My assessment of the Ramsey team is strong in the forwards, perhaps a bit weaker in the back line. A couple of key players not available for tomorrow's game, Jake Richmond and Brandon Atchison. We've also got positional switch. Sam Corlett's going to come in at 9. Nathan Robson's going to drop to fullback. Those are all changes that are going to affect the balance of the team. I think also Josh Lees is coming in at 9, so we've got a new 9-10 compared to the side that played Prenton in that Cheshire game just after Manx Grand Prix. Now, Southern Nomads are a little bit of an unknown quantity. We know Norman Winterbatch has been listed on Vagabond's team sheet at least once so far. So there's one player potentially gone. They've got a great 9-10 where Ramsey have got an untested combination. George Collister and Mark Young down at Southern Nomads have been playing together for a long, long time, experienced, know each other's games well. It'll be how the rest of the team fits in around them. We're past, I think, the stage where we've got university students still here and available, so that might weaken Nomads a little bit. But, you know, Nomads and Western Vikings do have ambitions in the Cheshire competition. They're in the Cheshire Bowl, I think it is, both of them. And they need some game time, and Nomads will be as keen to get out as close to that Cheshire side as possible. I think their first game's coming up later this month, but I need to check my fixture list for that to be sure. And I think it's against each other. It is Western Vikings, Southern Nomads in the Cheshire Bowl, and I think it will be at Ballykillia Park. I'm just not 100% sure on the date, but that's coming up. They need to get themselves ready for that, and that's going to mean turning out a decent, strong side, and they might well give Ramsey a run for their money tomorrow.
Dave Christian, our rugby correspondent there. Dave, thanks very much, and also thanks once again to Jack Caine, our guest, Vagabonds Ladies head coach as well. We're going to be talking hockey in the next couple of minutes, just after this very short break.
Manx Radio Sport.
Wedding planners and photographers looking for a truly unique backdrop for wedding photography? Then consider the historic Queen's Pier in Ramsey for a stunning coastal backdrop for truly memorable photographs. It offers a fantastic location to photographers in exchange for an affordable donation. Visit the Queen's Pier Restoration on Facebook, or to discuss photo opportunities, call Graham on 355 104. That's 355 104. This audio has been kindly sponsored by Paul Carey & Sons.
Construction waste today.
Tells recycle for another day.
A builder skip or two.
Tells Skips will bring to you.
At Tells Skip Hire and Waste Disposal in Snugborough, you only pay for the waste you bring. For waste disposal and skips, give us a call on 677 137. That's 677 137. Visit Tells today or find Tells Limited on Facebook.
Call Tells Skips today.
677 137.
I've just called the Guernsey Bank, Skipton International, about our savings.
And did you get a helpful robot?
No. At Skipton International, you speak to a very helpful, real person.
That's refreshing these days.
Well, that's why I chose them, for the perfect combination of personal customer service and some of the best savings rates. All by calling 01481 730 730 or visit skiptoninternational.com.
Skipton International is licensed to take deposits by the Guernsey Financial Services Commission and is a participant in the Guernsey Banking Deposit Compensation Scheme. Details at dcs.gg. Terms and conditions apply.
With Ellen Van in Fuels, home heating oil is made easy. With our free smart monitoring system, you'll never run out or have to think about ordering. Our online accounts and easy payment plans make it really simple to manage. Ellen Van in Fuels can even help with new tanks, boilers and servicing. Combine all that with reliable, efficient deliveries and we've got it covered. Just call us on 844000. Ellen Van in Fuels, making life easier.
Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome back. This is Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard and the team here looking through the latest sporting action coming up this weekend on Ireland and beyond. And rounding things up tonight, we're going to be taking a look at hockey. It is game week 3 of the 2024 mixed hockey season across the Isle of Man. Already the early frontrunners starting to emerge across the divisions. But of course, nothing is said and done yet. And to go through the latest fixtures taking place across Saturday across the Isle of Man is our hockey correspondent, Ben Cunningham. Ben, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. Good to be here.
Excellent. Let's start with the Mixed Premier League. We've got 4 games taking place in the Mixed Premier League tomorrow, and 3 of those are 2 pushbacks, but there is an early pushback at King William's College, and this could be a very interesting game because it's between 2 sides who will be wanting to fight away from the bottom of the table throughout the campaign. Harlequins A versus Valkyries B.
Yeah, now I've got this down as a game of the weekend. This is a really big game. Definitely, like you say, to avoid being in that bottom relegation battle. Both these sides yet to get points on the board. However, it is Harlequins looking the better side on goal difference, and I'm going to go for a Harlequins win.
Yeah, both sides yet to get points on the board. But yes, the first of the 3 2 pushbacks is an intra-club derby at the National Sports Centre, and that sees Backers A 2 wins from 2, top on goal difference at the moment, up against Backers B.
Yeah, Backers A 14 goals scored, only 2 against them, whereas Backers B, they have got 8 goals and -5, so a big difference in the standards in the 2 teams. You would favour the A team, so Backers A win there.
Right, well, this Valkyries A, the defending champions, they're another of the 4 sides, in fact, that are 2 wins from 2 so far. They're coming up against Vikings B, who are bottom of the table at the moment on goal difference, Ben.
Yeah, and this is a big game, of course. Valkyries still with that 100% record, and as we say, they're current reigning champions of the Premier League, and they're desperate to keep their hands on that trophy this season. Tough ask for Vikings, though. Like you say, bottom of the league against Valkyries A. I'm going to go for a Valkyries A win.
Yeah, so that game 2 at QE2 out in Peel. And the last of the games in the Mixed Premier League, also 2 down south at Castle Rushen High School. And that sees Vikings A up against Castletown Celts. Again, these 2 sides, 2 wins from 2 so far.
Yeah, 2 wins from 2. However, Vikings A are yet to concede a goal against them. So Castletown have got a really tough task ahead of them to try and get a goal past the Vikings goalkeeper. However, though, we have said it week in, week out, never rule out a Castletown side from causing a shock. And Castletown Celts have ran Vikings close a few times in previous years, so could they do it again this year and maybe even get one over them?
Well, we saw the season before last, didn't we? Just what Castletown Celts are capable of in that top flight.
Absolutely.
Moving on to Mixed Division 1 and 12:35 pushback at the NSC. And the Backers C involved in this. They're the only team in Division 1 with a perfect record of 2 wins from 2. And they're up against a Vikings D side that have lost their first 2, Ben. 12:35 pushback, this one.
Yeah, really tough ask for Vikings D. Just haven't quite gelled yet into this league and got any points on the board. However, Backers C really are looking strong, and I'm going to go for a Backers C win.
And then a meeting of 2 C teams, 12:35 pushback at QE2 in Peel. This sees Vikings C up against Valkyries C. Both sides 1 win, 1 loss so far. But Ben, just taking a look at the table here, Vikings C worse off on goal difference. They've conceded 14 compared to Valkyries 5. So could you think that could be a factor in this one?
Absolutely, that could be a factor that could come down to who wins this game. Like you say, the goal difference against both sides is massive. Like you say, Vikings with 14, Valkyries with just the 5. So it could come down to how good each team's defence is on the day.
And the other game in Mixed Division 1, this could be an interesting one in terms of the early battles, really, for supremacy toward the top. 12:35 pushback at Castle Rushen High School. Castletown Southerners, who came very close to reaching the summit in Mixed Division 1 last season, up against Ramsey A, who were relegated from the Mixed Premier League in the last campaign. No doubt looking to try and get back into the top flight this season. Both sides, a win and a loss so far, Ben. Early in the season, but would a win for either side in this prove a significant advantage over the other to try and get towards the top?
I think it would, definitely. Ramsey A definitely looking to get back into the Premier League. However, Castletown Southerners, they will be, of course, keep wanting to get their hands on the trophy as well and getting in that Premier League status. I think this one's going to be a really close game. It's probably just as big as the Harlequins A Valkyries B game in the Premier League. This could be really important, this game. I'm on the fence on this one. I'm not going to predict a team, but I'm going to stay on the fence on this one.
Very well, very democratic. Well done, Ben. Okay, let's take a quick look through the other divisions. We've got 3 games in Mixed Division 2 tomorrow.
Yep, first game is 11:05, and that is at QE2, and that's Valkyries D against Harlequins B. I'm going to go for a Harlequins B win there. Second game is 12:35, and this is the first 2 games we're going to cover for Saturday Live, and that's Ramsey Ravens against Castletown Camags, and I'm going to go for a Camags win. And then 3:35 at the NSC, Backers Colts against Castletown Cushags. I'm going to go for a Backers Colts win.
And last but certainly not least, in the senior leagues, tomorrow we've got 3 games in Mixed Division 3.
Yeah, first one at 11:05 at the NSC is Vikings Z against Backers Mixed Bucks. This one will be very close, I reckon. I think Vikings will just come out on top, though. Again, at 11:05, we have Backers D against Castletown Cosney at Castle Rushen High School. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because they're 2 very evenly matched sides, and if anything, it might just come down to a bit of magic between the 2 sides. I'm going to leave it at that. And then finally at 2:05, Harlequin C against Ramsey Rookies, which is the second game we're going to cover for Saturday Live at Ramsey Grammar School, and I'm going to go for a Harlequin C win.
And then outside of the senior leagues, we've got 3 games in the Mixed Under-15s League tomorrow, all pushing back at 3:35.
And the first one is Castletown Sharks against Valkyries at QE2, Ramsey against Harlequins at Ramsey Grammar School, and then Castletown Savers against Vikings at Castle Rushen High School.
And very quickly, Ben, we've got less than 60 seconds here before we have to wrap things up, but we recently had the draws for the opening rounds of the Mixed Cup competitions for 2024, and they're due to take place in a couple of weeks, we believe.
Yeah, they're going to be on the... I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. I think I said to you
the Saturday, the 5th of October.
October, yeah. So they're all in preparation now. So the fixture times and venues should all be out within the next week or so. And we'll be eyeing up which ties we'll be going to. But there is some very big ties, like you say, in the draw, especially in the Cup replay of the final from last year in the first round.
Absolutely, I did see that. In fact, we'll just get the details of that up in front of us because that looks like it could be one of the real standout ties there in the opening round of the Mixed Cup that sees Valkyries A, the defending Mixed Premier League champions, up against Backers A, the Mixed Cup champions. So we're plenty to look forward to. Those ties to be played on the 5th of October. Details on our website. Ben, thank you very much. Ben Cunningham, our hockey correspondent there. That just about wraps things up for Friday Sport Preview this evening, the 20th of September. Thank you so much for joining us this evening as always, and you can catch up with all the latest sporting news across the Isle of Man at the Manx Radio Sports Hub at manxradio.com as well, and that has details of all the football, rugby and hockey fixtures taking place this weekend as well, and we'll be bringing live updates and reports throughout the day tomorrow from the football, rugby and hockey world on Saturday Live and in Saturday Sport Classified as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful Friday and have a wonderful weekend as well, but from me, until next time, bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.